So I did this monologue, Letting Go of God, and Ira Glass did an excerpt of it on This American Life. And at the time I was working as a writer on Desperate Housewives. That's right, I'm just throwing my credits around, people. Worked as a writer on Desperate Housewives. And I would go to these story meetings, and I would come back to my office, and there was like hundreds of emails coming in from this segment on This American Life, and for a long time it was their most popular segment. So that was like this really flattering, wonderful, big deal, and almost all the responses I got were positive. Of course, there were crazy people, but most of it was really positive. And it was very exciting. And in the midst of all these emails, I got this email, and the headline was, "Desperately Seeking Sweeney-in-Law." And then it said, "I'm writing to you to propose marriage to you on behalf of my brother, who doesn't know that I'm writing to you. I would propose to you myself, but I'm gay and I live in San Francisco, so I don't think that would work out between us. But I'm telling you, you're the perfect woman for my brother. He's a scientist, he lives in Chicago, and his big deal breaker with women is they cannot be religious in any way. Personally, I think that's a little harsh, but everyone has their deal breakers, and that's his. And so you should, write to him." And there was a picture of him and his cell phone number. And then he said, "I know your family's kind of nutty, but I'm telling you, my family's also nutty." And then he gives me some examples of the nuttiness of his family, and it was actually very cute. And I actually read it to the guys in the office next door. I liked it so much, but I didn't write back the guy who wrote it because I thought, I'm not going to write the brother. And I would just say to the brother who wrote, that was a nice letter, but then I was worried he'd say, "Well, why don't you write my brother?" And I was like, so I just forgot about it. Okay, so several months went by, and I was in New York City doing Letting Go of God, and I came out after the show, and I was turning in my microphone, and this woman was leaving the bathroom who had just seen my show, but she wasn't waiting to see me. And we sort of bumped into each other, and she said, "Oh, a friend of mine wrote you a letter several months ago proposing marriage on behalf of his brother?" And I said, "Oh, yes, that's right." And she said, "I just want to vouch for those two brothers. I've known them since junior high. They're really funny and smart. You really should write the brother." And I was like, "Well, maybe I will." And she's like, "You should." And I was like, "Maybe I will." But I didn't. Okay. Then about 6 more months went by. I was doing Letting Go of God again in LA. And I came out after a show, and there's this handsome guy standing there. And I talked to him last. And he said, "I wrote you this letter like a year ago proposing marriage on behalf of my brother." And I said, "Oh, right, that was such a funny letter. Sorry, I never wrote your brother." And he goes, "Oh, no, I'm really glad you didn't write him." And I said, "Why?" And he said, "Because he's an asshole, that's why." I said, "What? What's happened?" And he said, "Well, when he found out that I sent this letter, he got incredibly upset. The whole family's divided. Everyone's mad at me now. Even my mother, who came to your show, I said, let's go meet her after the show, but she refused to meet you. She's standing over there at the other side of the lobby. And everyone's pissed off at me, especially my brother, who won't even talk to me now because of this letter." I said, "Oh my God, I have to meet your mother." So I went over and I met this woman, and she said, "You should not be talking to me or to us. I told him that you're going to call the FBI on him. This is so ridiculous. But I will say that I would make a fabulous mother-in-law. I don't get overly involved in my son's lives in any way. The most I would ever say to you is cute skirt. And by the way, where did you get that cute skirt?" And then we talked about my cute skirt. She was great. Okay, so I went home. I found this letter from the year before, and I wrote to this guy, and I said, "Okay, well, now I've met your mother, your brother, and your friend in New York. And I thought if you were half as charming as your brother was, I should at least say hi. And also, give your brother a break. The letter was not that bad. It was not that humiliating. It's not that big of a deal. You should talk to your brother." And then 3 days later, I got an email back, and the headline was, "I am mortified." And it said, "I had just hoped when I found out that this letter had been sent to you that you had some efficient assistant who would delete a letter like that before your eyes ever laid upon it. I am sorry that you were bothered, even bothered by that." And then I wrote back and said, "Oh, it wasn't. It was, I get tons of letters. You can't believe." And then he wrote back, and I wrote back, and he wrote back, and then we were writing each other back and forth a lot. And then he came to LA, and he was cute and smart, and so I married him. That's how I met my husband. And Jill was a bridesmaid.
I was a bridesmaid.
She actually met him before me.
And I sang this song. But also it was the best wedding I've ever been to. And tell them who married you.
Well, I come from this big Catholic family who's mostly very upset that I'm not, no longer one of the faithful. And Michael comes from this Jewish atheist tradition, which I didn't know was a thing, but is a whole thing. They're like, we are third generation atheist Jewish. Like, wow. So I was thinking, who can marry us that will satisfy all these points of view? And I realized there was one person. My friend Don Novello as Father Guido Sarducci. So he married us.
He was so funny.
He was so cute too. Oh God.
Even if I lost the job, I'm lucky in love, I'm lucky in luck. Even if I lost the game, I'm lucky in love, I'm lucky in love. Even when the winter comes and I'll never see the sun, oh, I know I will be miserable, but I'm lucky in love. No, I'm not a beauty queen, I'm lucky in love, I'm lucky in love. Met someone as strange as me, and we both agree. I was standing on the bridge, just about to jump, when I remembered your sweet kiss, your sweet kiss. I think you're really swell, and I really hope that this goes well. And if someday I cross the street and run into a bus, oh, I'll go down grinning, 'cause I'm lucky in love. Everyone. Thank you all for coming. I like the purple crayon, and this Hastings is a really sweet little town.
We all decided we could live here right away.